You know what? I've had it. I've had it up to here. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret of mine. Throughout the whole film community, there's a general consensus that the tastiest of film stocks, the sexiest of film stocks is Portra. Whether it be Portra 160, 400, 800. Portra is the 45-day dry age ribeye Wagyu steak of the film stocks. With its beautiful subdued colors, its exceptional grain, its phenomenal dynamic range. It's little wonder why most film shooters will exclusively shoot this most coveted of film stocks. When the layman thinks of that classic film look, they probably think of Portra. However, its legendary status has come at a price. Its desirability has meant that the supply of this most illustrious of emulsion is rare. Wars have been fought over it. Families torn apart by debates over which is better, Portra or Fuji Pro 400H. This year alone has seen a dramatic rise in the number of photographers opening up OnlyFans account in order to afford this film stock. Film Addicts Anonymous has seen a 46% surge in the number of distress calls from photographers suffering from Portra withdrawals. As a recovering Portra addict myself, I was on a hunt for a film stock that could give me that Portra fix for not so much money, whilst not putting me at financial risk of losing everything. Nowadays, you'll see a roll of Portra 160, the cheapest of all the Portras, for around £11. £11? £11! Just for a roll of film. All thanks to a price hike by Kodak at the beginning of 2020. Kodak have increased their prices by 30%? No! 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 There's literally no way 2020 could get any worse than this moment right here. No possible way that it could get any worse. When that day came and the prices went up, all hope was lost. Until one day, the voice of the spirits of film shooters past. Or maybe it was my iPhone listening into my inner thoughts and sent me some targeted ads. It was one of them. I found a film stock that I had never heard of. It claimed to produce beautiful natural skin tones. Ha! Beautiful natural skin tones. I hear you say, that is only possible. Only my beloved Portra is capable of such a feat. Then I looked at the price. All of this never. All of this for just £5? Never. That could not be true. So I procured a couple of rolls just to see what all the fuss was about. And lo and behold, I was pleasantly blown away. I almost don't want to make this video because the irony of it is that I'm only going to hurt my own interests, as this video will probably make this film stock even, harder to get and will most likely increase its prices. But let's continue anyway. So, in terms of soft, mellow, subdued pastel colors that, Portra is famous for, this film stock Pro Image 100, Kodak Pro Image 100, is in my opinion, on par with Portra. I have shot many photos with this film stock, that have me thinking, wait a second, was this shot on Portra? Then I go back to my files, I double check it, and then I realize that it was shot on Pro Image 100. Amazing. In terms of all of Kodak's, line of film stocks, in terms of their color film stocks, it's very easy to distinguish between all of them. Ultramax has a very saturated look. Ektar has a very particular look. The reds are very saturated. It looks very nice on foliage and sort of landscape sort of photography. Gold, Color Plus, they have a very particular look. And Portra likewise has a very particular look. But when I put Portra alongside Pro Image 100, put them side by side, when I put a picture that I shot with Portra alongside a picture I shot with Pro Image 100, I am honestly kind of, at a quick glance, it's probably pretty hard for most people, myself included, to sort of tell them apart. Let's do a quick test. One of these photos was taken with Portra 160 and the other with Pro Image 100. I mean, Yeah, obviously if you look long and hard enough, you'd probably be able to tell the difference. But if I showed this to you on Instagram and I put Portra down there, you probably wouldn't question it. And this is not to say that Portra is overrated, but rather that Pro Image is massively underrated. This is key. In even lighting conditions, you will get beautiful pastel colors, incredible natural skin tones. You're basically gonna get Portra colors. You're gonna get that Portra color palette, or at least very close to it, in my opinion, with Pro Image 100. So those are the pros. You're gonna get that color palette for a very good price, you know, for a lot less than Portra. So enough pros, let's talk about some cons. Firstly, is that it's a 100 speed film. It only comes in one speed, which for me is both a pro and a con. It's a pro in that, you know, I like to shoot wide open during the day, so that slow speed allows me to shoot nice wide open, because hashtag bokeh bro, hashtag bokeh ho, hashtag shooting wide open, hashtag. However, if you step into the shade with that 100 ISO, you know, you're gonna run into some issues. You're gonna have to maybe use a tripod and, you know, use a very slow shutter speed, which means that you might get some blurry shots. Likewise, that slow speed is also a pro because it's very handy when you use it in studios. It means that you could use a very powerful flash. You know, it's a lot more flexible using a low speed film in the studio when you're using something like a flash, which is something that I tend to use this film stock for when I'm using it in a studio with a flash. So when I shoot Pro Image, I'll reserve it for during the day, or if I'm in the studio using it with some flash. Some of my favorite photos that I've taken all year were taken with Pro Image 100, namely the studio portraits I took of Kat. Secondly, the biggest downside of this film stock, and probably the reason why it's a lot cheaper than Portra, is its dynamic range. It leaves a lot to be desired, basically. So in varied lighting situations, so in scenes in which there are very dark shadows and very bright highlights, you know, that very contrasty lighting situations, this film stock will very much struggle, because you're going to struggle to meter for these situations, because if you meter for the shadows, you're going to lose a lot of information in the highlights as they're going to be blown out. And if you meter for the highlights, you're going to lose a lot of information in the shadows, as the shadows will be crushed. One of the ways that people like to shoot Portra is by overexposing it by 1, even 2 stops to give like a nice, very low contrast pastel look. You don't really want to do that with this film stock, with Pro Image 100. It really doesn't do that well being overexposed. If you are to ever overexpose this, I wouldn't recommend overexposing this by more than like half a stop. Say if you're like in the shade or something. In the past, I've tried to overexpose Pro Image 100 by a stop, and I've found that, you know, in very, very bright sunny conditions, you're just going to lose a lot of highlight detail. You're going to get a lot of highlight clipping, for example, in this photo. So that's just something to be aware of. I would generally recommend to shoot this film stock Pro Image 100 at box speed, and if you really did want to overexpose this, I wouldn't recommend overexposing more than like half a stop at the most. Another con, which is not a huge con in my opinion, is that it's not as sharp as Portra. Yes, all film stocks are, you know, not going to be that sharp, but Portra generally is quite sharp as film stocks go. This film stock is just not as sharp as Portra, which for me personally is not that big a deal. I'm not always looking for like the sharpest images when I'm shooting film anyway. But for you that might be an issue. But for me, honestly, it's not so soft. You know, if I'm stopping down to like, you know, maybe f4, f5.6, then, or even at f2, like it's sharp enough for me basically. But it was definitely worth mentioning that it's not as sharp as Portra, but it's plenty sharp for me. Also, it only comes in 35mm. It doesn't come in 120, which, you know, it would be nice. It would be really nice getting this in 120. And lastly, probably a big con is that since this film stock is so Portra-like and it's so much more affordable than Portra, it sells out pretty fast all the time. So whenever I do buy it, I always buy it in bulk. You know, for example, right now as I'm making this video, it's completely out of stock on Amazon. And you know, I've literally only managed to find maybe 1 or 2 UK sellers on eBay who are stocking it. Yeah, so if you do find it, be quick. So in conclusion, this is an extremely good substitute for Portra if you're tight on cash. If you're looking for a film stock that comes pretty darn close to Portra, you know, you can't go wrong with this. If you want that Portra color palette, there's subdued, mellow pastel colors, there's beautiful natural looking skin tones, then this is your guy. If you don't mind foregoing the flexibility and the sort of versatility that the dynamic range of Portra gives you, then you're laughing. You can't go wrong. Yeah. And anyway, guys, that is the video. I hope you liked that. Like, comment, subscribe, comment something nice down below. I love talking to you guys. I respond to all the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. I've got plenty more videos to come. You know, the past few weeks I've only been putting out 1 video a week, and I'm trying to get back into doing 2 videos a week. I've ordered a GoPro. It should be arriving tomorrow. Fingers crossed, don't hold it. Fingers crossed it comes tomorrow. And you know, I'm going to be introducing more street POV, sort of street photography. I'm going to be introducing POV street photography videos because I want to show you guys my sort of street photography process as I'm doing it. Like, comment, share this with your mom, share this with your dad. Follow me on Instagram, send me a DM on Instagram. I love talking to you guys there. You know, if you ever have a question about anything film photography related, you know, hit me up. I'm always happy to talk to you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Plenty of more videos to come. Follow me on Instagram at Zane Shoots Film. Check out my portfolio at ZaneReaser.com. And with all that said and done, boys and girls, keep learning, keep shooting. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.